going to collect and whatever the data that we are going to analyze need to be represented in a very quick way. Otherwise, that data will be of no use. Have you seen a cricket match on a TV? Okay, until and unless it doesn't represent the complete part, and if it is going to represent after some time, then there is no use of it. Okay, so in this way, real-time processing is the biggest challenge in IoT whenever we are going to link it with cloud analyst. Okay, just again take a simple example. If the sensor of that AC, even though the temperature falls below 24 degree and he is not able to process it and give it to the controlling unit, then that sensor is of no use. Okay, so in the cloud analyst, real-time processing is a very big problem, or I can say is a very big challenge that every device needs to go through. Okay, now these are some research directions that are going in. We will be skipping this part. Now coming up to the part of the ecosystem. Okay. Now, whenever we deal the term this one, whenever we deal this term the IoT, okay, first the IoT was used alone, okay. Now the IoTs are used with the application, okay. This can be considered as the two bank of the river, okay. Now in order to connect this IoT with the application, we require the working of a cloud. We require the working of a cloud because today distance is not a limit. Okay, the distance can be in the form of meters, can be in the form of kilometers. Okay, so we need to have this thing in a very proper way. We need to understand this thing in a very proper way so that data can be collected within a quick fashion in order to analyze it properly. Okay, so the major thing that we need to discuss here is the cloud services. The major thing that we need to discuss is the cloud services that will be taking a major form in order to analyze the data properly. Now, Now, take a simple example of this IoT workflow where we are taking a simple RIFD, sensors, we are using the smart technology as well as we are using the nanotechnology in order to understand how the things are going to work. Okay, so now see, RIFD everyone knows sensors, RF tags and everything that we use in order to identify the object. Okay, so it is just to identify and track the data of things. Coming up to the sensor, a sensor is a very generic term. Okay, that is only used to represent, collect and process the data. Okay, coming up to the smart technology to enhance the power of network by deploying processing capability in different parts of the network. And the last one is nanotech to make the smaller and smaller thing and have the ability to connect and internet. So whenever we are going to deal with the IoT, we are going to follow these principles in order to employ a IoT device. Okay. Now taking a simple example of a computer. Okay. When the computer was developed, the size of a computer was the size of a room. Yes or no? Now day by day, as the hardware have advanced, okay, it has become from a room to in a hand. Okay, so here we are starting to deal with the RIFD. We are trying to deal with the sensors. Then we have incorporated the smart technology where we are able to use the networking power. And at the end, we try to deal up with the nanotech where we try to simplify things. Okay. Now, first of all, we have seen the smartwatches also. When the smartwatch was introduced, it was a bigger in size. Now, as soon as we see, we are getting a various shapes of smartwatches. So, we are going to employ the nanotech. We are going to employ the nanotechnology, therefore reducing the size of the device in order to make it more user-friendly and comfortable to the people. Now, as soon as we are getting advanced, we are making the things user friendly. If we think at the backend side, complexity is increasing. Yes or no? First, we were able to write 10 or 15 lines of code, just like the disk computing. Today, we have started writing the 6 computing because we are having the advanced hardware that are available. Okay, and that goes for various different types of complexities and each and everything. Okay, so all these things are there in order to play with the part. Now, if you think the structure of an IoT devices, okay, tagging things, cleaning things, shrinking things, and heating things. Okay, so here we try to use the IoT in order to introduce this part that will be dealing with this four basic categories. Okay, now if you see the number of users that are using the IoT devices have been drastically increased from the year 2003 to 2020. Okay, second, IoT as a networks of networks. Okay. Now, whenever we try to deal with the IoT, okay, and that in terms of cloud analyst, okay, we need to have a master and slave concept. We need to have a master and slave concept where one controller will be connecting all the IoT devices. Okay, so here we need to have a proper binary structure. Here we need to have a proper binary structure where the one controller unit will be able to control all the IoT devices that are there with it. Okay, so this is the part that we need to discuss here by making the clusters of network within the clusters. Okay, so it can be termed as networks of networks. So in IoT, we are going to frame the concept of computer networks. Okay, where we are trying to use the morphism policy of a C program, inheritance from one path to another in order to incorporate the things. Then, if we go with this ADD model, if we go with this knowledge discovery model, whatever the data that is collected by an IoT devices is completely raw data. If we come up to the part, if I go with the value of the sensors that are collected by, that are completely raw data. Okay. Then we try to put some filtering part, or we try to put some pre-processing part. So where that raw data is fabricated to the part that data we want. Okay, so in a IoT, the biggest second challenge, the first time is real-time processing. The second challenging is that handling that large amount of data. Because you know that today, whenever we were dealing in the past, the data was collected in terms of that GBs and everything. But today, the data are collected in terms of petabytes. If you on a temperature sensor for an hour, it is going to give you exact 1 lakh or 2 lakh units of reading. And that reading needs to be analyzed in order to take a particular decision. The second thing that we need to deal in the IoT is the raw data, the data that is collected by the sensors, because that sensors are only analyzing the situation and giving us the result. Okay, so that analysis need to be done at this part. Okay, so data, then we go come up with the information, then we come up with the knowledge, then we come up with the understanding, and then we come up with the wisdom. So this is the amount of data that we require for the analyst purpose. Now, the future of IoT, if we talk about what happens when 50B machines becomes connected. Okay, the third issue that we are going to manage. The first one was real-time processing. Second was large amount of data. The third amount will be simultaneous connections, or I can say concurrent connections. Okay, if suppose we are two computers are connecting and they are generating the data, then that will be a very little amount of data. But when 200 computers or 200 sensors are generating the data at the same time, then how to handle all these sensors concurrently is the biggest problem that have been arise in the IoT industry. So the third problem that we need to address is the connection, that is the concurrent connection of the number of IoT devices that are available. Now, the potentials of IoT. Now, what we talk about is the advantages of the IoT device and where that things can be applicable. as today we are discussing the IoT in terms of healthcare. Okay, the IoT can be applied to the aviation industry. You all know the power sector, healthcare sector, rail and the oil and gas. Now coming up to the part of the healthcare sector. Coming up to the part of the healthcare sector. Okay. Now if we come up with a part, at least 70 sensors are available. 70 sensors are available that can be used in order to predict the health of a person or health of a patient. Now, that 70 sensors needs to work in a synchronous manner in order to get the correct health of a person. Okay, so the unified model in order to have that 70 sensors working will be taken as a best part. Now, unlock the massive potentials of IoT. Okay, so now whenever we are going to use the IoT devices in healthcare, the first thing that we are going to do is to improve the performance. So even though a human, if it is not able to alive 24 by 7, IoT device can be. So it can monitor the health of a patient in a very easy and quick way. Yes or no? Second will be the reduced cost. I don't need to employ two people at the same time in order to monitor the thing. Third one will be innovative services. If suppose one hospital is giving you a high-tech services related to the IoTs and all, we prefer that only. That comes into our mind that yes, I will be getting the best treatment here. And the last one goes for the new avenues, revenues and the streams. Means as soon as two or three sensors are developing, we can have the advanced version going to the back. If you have seen, the government of India have launched the Aadhaar portal, where all the health records of the human are kept. Okay, and that health record is given by the customer, sorry, by the people or by the network hospital in which the person is admitted. And just like we are getting Aadhaar card, in some day, every hospital will be requiring an Aadhaar number, so that whatever the current state of the person will be there, that will be updated in that portal. So if suppose that person goes to a